Hey guys, welcome to the vlog. Millian here with you. Millian. I want to thank you for joining me. I am your ministry provocateur, iconoclast, firebrand, and resident heretic here at Dominion Fire. And it's a pleasure to chat with you today. Staying on my hustle for 2016. It is 2 in the morning. Why? Because I'm always up late. I'm a night owl. I like this time of night. Everybody's sleeping. The world is out cold, and less brainwaves flying around. You know, I could think more clearly, and get a little bit of, well, a good bit of alone time, because that's kind of how I roll. And I tell you that because on episode 6 of the vlog, which I did several months back, I did a vlog episode that was being about an introvert in ministry, which I am very much. If you haven't met me before, a lot of people are very surprised by that, especially doing vlogs and podcasts. You'd figure, wow, you're really out there, and people, no, I'm really not. I'm actually a very solitudinous kind of guy. I like alone time. I like to be by myself. I like quiet. Now, I have a wonderful wife and a son who I absolutely adore and spend as much time with them as I possibly can, so no reflection on them. It's just my personality. I enjoy being alone. I am not really a people person, although I do love people, and I will, walk to the ends of the earth for you if I have to. It's a little bit of a different take on what we're probably used to. So, what makes certain things in ministry difficult for me is this. As I've told you before, I am trained under Curry Blake at John G. Lake Ministries. Now, Curry is such an amazing guy. I am so grateful for him, so grateful for the work he's done, the trainings he's put together, and without their materials, man, I would probably be still stuck in a church on Sunday, miserable, hiding in a corner, going on about Israel, Muslims, and waiting for a rapture. Some crazy stuff. I'd just be sitting there just waiting for something or other going on that's, who knows. So I'm truly grateful for JGLM and everything they did. Now, with Curry is a very, it's like a militant mindset in that you're walking out on the street, you see someone that's sick, it's your job to go heal them. Go get them. Just pounce on everything that you see. And for a while, when I was training, that was what I did out on the streets. To mixed results, to be very blunt about it. And over the years, as I've kind of grown in ministry and matured up a little bit in some of this stuff, and now that I have some battle scars, and I've had the chance to sort of see things a little touch differently. And this is where I guess I sort of break a little bit from that mindset, and not in a bad way. It's just, as I've told you before in ministry, you have to be you. You really have to be who you are. And the thing is that I am better as a one-on-one kind of guy. I don't like crowds. I don't like groups. I don't like being part of teams. I don't like that kind of stuff. I like to hang with one person. If we're going to do something one-on-one, absolutely love it. It's that whole discipleship mentality, and that is really where I am strong in this kind of stuff. I'm very good one-on-one with people. Now, I tell you all that because I basically stopped doing street ministry for this reason, is that I don't like going up to people. If someone's in the middle of the store and they have an obvious handicap or something, there's been times where I've gone up and, kind of made a big fuss about it, and you could see that it makes them kind of uncomfortable, and I don't want to call somebody out like that in front of others, especially if they're conscious of something. So it's a little bit of a strange thing. Now, not always the case, but it has happened. And I don't ever want to make someone feel bad or feel like there's something wrong with them or, uncomfortable in front of strangers or people. So it's something it's a little bit of a hard thing for me. But when I hang out with one person, maybe sometimes two or whatever, like little tiny groups of people, and something comes up and they say, I have a friend who has a healing need, can you go pray for them? And then, maybe two of us go and we go pray for someone, and then it's amazing. That's when I'm at my best. Well, as the years have gone by in this, and as I have kind of honed into more of who I am in ministry, I was reflecting upon this whole situation of, you hear people say stuff like, well, we got to go out and we got to win souls. We got to go out and go and reach the masses and reach this and so on and so forth. Now, there is a lot of people who embrace that and they run with it and they're phenomenal at it. And I absolutely love to see that. But that's not me. I'm just not that kind of personality. And the thing is that for as awesome as Curry is, I don't want to be the next Curry Blake because God already has Curry Blake. I don't want to be the next Pete Cabrera. God already has Pete Cabrera. I don't want to be the next Todd White. God already has Todd White. And each guy has their own thing and their own just amazing way of doing what they do. I want to be the first and only million and be the best of it that I can be. Be the absolute best million that that I can have in this world. Now with that, this whole thing of, well, we just got to go win souls. We got to go win souls. And you'll see like evangelists, and they're doing these huge outdoor like revivals. They call them in some country, 5,000, 10,000 people and winning souls. And it's amazing. And I can't help but think that if you're someone like me who I've sort of in recent years shunned away from the spotlight and from wanting to be leads in a lot of groups and things like that. Even with the teams that we have here for healing, I've gotten away from the team idea, and now I just kind of minister with one other person usually. Usually there's two of us, 2 by 2, right? And that's how I've sort of arranged it now, and that's how it's been flowing in recent times, and it's been working very well. Now, what I want to show you is I'm going to cut away for a second. I want to show you a video, and this is a video that I found a little while ago, which kind of gives you a different idea of how I like to approach things. And I share this with you because if you're the type of person that has no problem going up to people, talking about Jesus, asking to pray for them, you run with it. By all means, you have my utmost respect because you have something that I don't. But, someone like me, I connect well with people one-on-one, which is where a lot of people lack. A lot of people are not comfortable with doing that, and I enjoy that. So, as I've mentioned on that previous blog, number 6, that, we're all different parts of the body. We all have different functions, and we're all connected into the same system, and we just have to do things the way that we are the best at. So what I want to show you is this video, which is something I found about a year or two ago as I was kind of understanding a little more of discipleship. Now, the reason that I say I stopped doing street ministry is because a lot of times, now I'll take people out on the street if I'm training them, showing them how to do it, and let them kind of get some battle scars that way. But as an ongoing thing, I don't do that. And the reason for that is because most times there's no follow-up, there's no relationship, there's usually no way that you connect with people. Even if you exchange phone numbers or emails or whatever, a lot of times everybody gets so busy in life that there's truly no follow-up. And this is where it kind of gets tricky because you may see an amazing healing on the street, you exchange information and then everybody disappears for a couple months, and let's say you run into that person on the street again, they're right back where they started. And you say, oh, well, I guess my healing didn't work, or whatever comes to your mind. But the truth of the matter is that, yeah, it did work. It's just they weren't equipped properly for how to keep it and how to fight for themselves. And this is something that I think is a big problem. Can we get people healed? Absolutely. But there is some element somewhere of personal responsibility where that person now has to take that up and run with it. I can get you to a certain place, but you got to run with it. I can't live your life for you. And this is where I think that sometimes there's issues with this. Now, a lot of debate and a lot of discussion we could have on that, but that's for another time. What I want to talk to you about today is an amazing way that God one time spoke through my son, who was about 18 months, 2 years old, somewhere in that ballpark at the time. Totally floored me. And I'm going to share that with you when we return from this video. This video is about 2 minutes long. This is called The Great Commission, and I found this just randomly on YouTube on someone's site. I have no clue who created it, but in the description down below on YouTube, I will put a link to it, and you can go see it for yourself. This will be in its entirety, but just so I give it proper credit. So check out this video. Back in a minute.
Ever wondered why Jesus' last command to his committed followers was to make disciples of all nations? Have you ever wondered what it would look like if Christ's most committed followers today actually carried forth that command according to the standards set forth in the New Testament by Christ and the 12? If an evangelist were to reach 1,000 people a day for Christ in a frozen population rate, can you imagine how long it would take to reach the world for Jesus Christ? Just over 15,000 years. And imagine the spiritual maturity of these new converts, most of whom receive no real follow-up or discipleship and end up never reaching their full potential in Christ. However, if a committed follower of Christ, we'll call him Paul, were to disciple a new believer for 1 year, we'll call him Timothy, to the extent that Timothy matures in Christ until he is able to disciple another, For as Luke 6:40 says, the student will become like his teacher. So then, in year 2, Timothy has become a discipler himself and takes on his first student, while Paul takes on another student. By the 3rd year, our Paul is discipling his 3rd student, while our Timothy is discipling his 2nd student, and our newest student is now able to make disciples as well. If the cycle is not broken, a spiritual downline is created which multiplies to the ends of the earth. Even at an accurate and growing population rate, do you know how long it would take in such a scenario to reach the entire world for Jesus Christ? Just under 37 years. And now imagine the spiritual maturity of these believers, all of whom have been equipped to both be and to make disciples of Jesus Christ. This is why Christ's last command to his followers is not to make converts, but to make disciples of all nations.
So I really like that video. I like that concept. And I like the fact of where I get to spend 1 year with one person. And that's it. Just sharing what I know, training them up as best I can, and then turning them loose. And then each of us take on the next person. And then it's that it starts out slow. But you remember, it's like a rocket getting off a launch pad. The hardest part is that initial liftoff. But after you got momentum, then it becomes easy. The most fuel in a rocket is spent at the beginning getting off the launch pad. So in that beginning, yeah, it's going to be a little slow and it's going to be hard and it's going to be fighting through. But after a while, it's like Amway. It's like Christian Amway. You can build your downline and be a double diamond. You know, you can be one of those guys. And it's God's Amway. But it is effective. Now, the truth of the matter is, now that's a perfect example. Now, we know that humans are not perfect and that we don't always follow the plan accordingly, and I get that. The other thing, too, is in that video it says you can reach the entire world. Well, let's be very blunt about something. The entire world, as basically we know it, is probably never going to all be saved. Probably not. And, you know, I could be wrong. But the reason I say that is because Jesus himself was walking around doing miracles, demonstrating it, and people were looking at him going, oh, that's kind of cool. And then they walked away. Yeah, even when he was doing it, there was people that still weren't interested. And there's just going to be some that no matter what you do, you know, Jesus himself stood before them, and it still didn't make a difference. So don't be hard on yourself. You know, could I be wrong? Yeah, sure. You know, I hope I am. I hope the entire world gets saved all in one shot. I hope it happens. But we have to be ready for the practical realities. And in the meantime, while we're doing these things, we got to basically mind our own garden. We have to, yes, you have a commission, okay, and you've been given a task to do it. But you got to remember you've been given authority too. And when you have authority, you're in charge of how you want to do it. That's the whole thing of authority. You are given the freedom to say, okay, here's the goal. Figure it out. God's at the finish line going, I'll be here when you're ready. Show me what you got. And then, you know, Proverbs 16:3, present a plan to God. He blesses it. And this is what you do. So you really have to do what works for you. And this is something I want to share with you because, again, if you're like me, this might work for you too and take some of that pressure off. You know, a lot of times if you're in church or if you're in groups or if you're in leadership in church, a lot of expectations get put on you. And those expectations aren't always realistic. They're not always pleasant, and sometimes they're downright destructive. So I'm trying to set you free. And I'm trying to give you an alternate that maybe works better for you. So I know that, as I'm just kind of looking on the screen here just to see that video, and the thing is that I know it's not a perfect system, okay? But if you could do that in such a way where you spend 1 year with one person just training them up, and then that person goes on, and even if you only hit your zip code or your city or even your state, even if you can make that big of a dent in your lifetime, would it not be worth it? And it absolutely would. And it's an entirely different way of approaching this stuff. So everybody that you know, so if you take on one of these disciples, you know that everybody knows someone who is sick or has an illness or, you know, we'll have someone who ends up in a hospital. It's bound to happen. It happens all the time in our group. Now, I have about maybe 3 people that I'm kind of training in this capacity. So I'm a little ahead of the curve on that in that sense. But again, it's like we don't have a regular meetup time. It's not as easy as, it sounds, but we got to fight through that and we got to make it work as best we can. So, I told you all that, and I kind of bring that up to you because a long time ago, before I was, a minister, before I even had Dominion Fire, before I knew about who Curry Blake was, and back in the days when I didn't even know if God healed people, those long, lowly church days back when you were just sitting in the chair saying amen and dancing to the entertainment-based worship thing going on, the whole deal, right? And I remember that I was at a place where I was very disenchanted in church. And I had, church we got saved and eventually ended up closing. And that was pretty hard given that it was our first real home in that sense. So it was pretty devastating at the time. Then just didn't want to be part of anything. And then eventually ended up in another church where we kind of healed up a little bit and we were starting to do better. But then as time went on, it was just more of the same politics, more of the same cliques that were forming, more of just the same crap that you see everywhere. And this is one of the reasons I don't really care to go to church. I don't like this stuff. But it wasn't long after that I started seeking. I started looking for something because you know in your spirit there's something more. There's something bigger, and this can't just be the end of it. You can't just go to church Sunday, blame everything on some other group, and just, I don't know. That's why I said there's got to be more to this. This can't be the end of the rainbow. And in that time, from where the churches that closed and we moved around a little bit, in that time, I had a son. And if you guys know me, if you've seen him on the vlog or whatever, Ian, my little boy, he's 5 years old now. Now, he is such an amazing kid. Absolutely love him. And when he was about, I think it's around 18 months old. Now, I told you all that. Here's where I'm going to bring it in for you. When he was about 18 months old, he was, running around. He was learning how to talk, and he could, hold a small conversation. And he had a little toy drum set. And he would just go bang away on this thing, and now he's got like a little kid drum set, which he really should be playing more, but he doesn't. But at the time, he was really into the drums, and he was banging on this thing all day. Now, this was about the time where I was going through one of the worst times in my life ever, and I was miserable in church, broke, all kind of financial problems, work problems, one problem after another, you name it, right? It was just that time in life. And I got laid off from the job that I was working at, and I was home for a period, unemployed basically. But it worked out well because it gave me a chance to take care of my son. I got to stay home with him and just live that experience with him, which in a way I'm very grateful for. At the time, I used to watch on cable TV, on the Christian channels. I'm admitting it. I used to watch that. I used to watch Joseph Prince. Now I love Joseph Prince. I find him amazing. Oh yes, Singapore, amen. Love Joseph Prince. I could listen to that guy all day long. But at the time, you got to remember that I was totally a church guy, And then as I started listening to Joseph Prince and about the grace message, that's when something inside me started clicking, and I'm like, oh man, no. And it just, that was, fires were starting to light inside of me at that point. And I was like, no, I was getting revelation, and just all kind of things started happening. Well, these days, several years down the line, I don't really follow him much anymore. I don't believe many of the same things I did back then. I believe, I've grown in my faith a little, and I believe different things now, but I still absolutely love what he brought to me. And it was liberating. It was, I hate to use the cliche term life-changing, but it indeed was. So I'm watching one day, and just sitting on the couch, and Ian was over in a corner, maybe 10 feet away in the corner, just banging away on his drums, doing his thing. And there was a commercial or something on the Christian channel about reaching the world and getting souls and all that stuff. And there's that expectation, go out and win souls, go out and preach the gospel, go out and do this. And it's just that expectation that's on you to go do that in the same way that everybody else does. And I was having a problem with that. And I'm on the couch, like, sitting here, I'm like almost in a panic state going, oh, and I'm thinking to myself, God, so many people, how are we going to get to all these people? How do we do this? I'm literally having a breakdown here, thinking, how are we going to reach the world? How are we getting all these people? These people are telling me to go preach the gospel. I'm sitting here unemployed with a kid. I can't, your mind's going about 1,000,000 miles an hour. So as I'm sitting there, I'm in this little panic state, true story. Ian was playing on his drums. He just stops, puts his drumsticks down and stands in the corner with his head slumped down like this. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what, I'm a new father. Like, what the heck? Yeah, I'm running to go check him out. I said, Ian. I said, what's the matter? Talk to me, bro. What's the matter? Talk, He looks up at me and says, smiles and he says, God is talking to me. I said, okay. Now I composed myself. I said, really? Being the strong dad here, really? And God's talking to you. What did God happen to say? He smiles at me again. He goes, one by one, by one, by one, and he runs off into the next room. And I'm like, get back here, and I go chasing him. And I'm sitting there. He's running away, going one by one, by one, by one, by one. And by the time I finally caught him and chased him down, I confronted him. I'm like, Ian, what did God just say to you? He goes, I don't know. But therein lies the answer. In one of the times of my life where I was in the weakest state, in one of the worst places I was in, spiritually, physically, emotionally, financially, life, the whole deal, with the exception of having an awesome son and being very happy about it, and things were starting to turn around at that point a little bit. In the midst of all that, having a breakdown, worrying about it, God spoke to my son, who I was fully engrossed in at that period, who answered the question that was giving me that panic state to begin with. And the question was, God, how do we reach everybody? There's not enough time, how do we do it? And God gave me the answer. One by one, by one, by one. Love it. Love sharing that story because to this day it still affects me, and to this day, every time that I start looking around and seeing the world just as it is, and with people just being all goofy and crazy and doing the nutty stuff that they do, I think to myself, God, how are we going to do this? And that scene comes to my mind, one by one by one. So that's why I wanted to show you that video and bring this to you to just give you a little something to kind of think about. If you're not sure, if you're worried, if you're maybe have a little panicky issue about having to go out and save millions of souls, start with one person. Spend a year with them. Teach them everything you know. Even if you're like, well, you only know one Bible verse, well, teach them that and then figure out the rest. Spend that time, that discipleship relationship. And if you do go out on the street, if you're in the street ministry and you do happen to connect up with someone, stay on them and make that your one person. In the meantime, while you're figuring this all out, time is going to pass either way. You may as well piggyback onto it and get something accomplished if you're destined to do something else. So in that time, take that person on, train them up as best you can, do whatever you can, make mistakes together, have victories together, be stupid together, whatever you want to do. Spend that time with that person, one-on-one, and get to everybody that needs it, one by one, by one, by one. Hope that helps you. Hope that blesses you, and hope that gives you something to work with. Anytime, check out the website, dominionfire.com. You can check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/dominionfire, as well as Twitter at Healing Ministers, where you find me personally. Please follow and all that stuff. And if you're watching on YouTube, would you please hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, because we need to get the word of God out to people. And I'm just trying to bring this to you in a real and practical way without all the usual church fluff that gets in the way. I'm just giving you real talk here, guys. I'm just being upfront with you and just sharing what I've seen and what I've experienced, and if it helps you, it helps you, and anything that further advances the kingdom, it doesn't matter to me. As long as the kingdom advances, I'm happy. So thanks for checking this out. Thanks for hanging with me tonight. I appreciate you listening, and we'll see you next time. Boom, goes Yeshua.